All right, guys. I just got back. I am going to get into this particular service call. And guys, you know what's funny? I feel like everything I'm telling you guys, either in videos or in live, I'm actually running across this. I believe I was talking about this on my last live video a few weeks ago. I was mentioning how the old company I used to work at, we used to do a bunch of maintenances on carrier communicating systems. And guys, I actually had a service call. This had to have been either Monday or Tuesday. And guys, this was a simple service call. But guys, I'm going to get into what was going on with this thermostat and what was going on the system. And also, I drew a little diagram on the board so you guys can see what was going on. But guys, I want to talk about something here. As far as with scams and what's going on, guys, look, that shit has been going on and it's probably still going to go on. And like I said, guys, I don't know how many of you guys are currently working for, like I said, whether this be a big, most likely it would be a big box company. You know, if, like I said, you got a company that has 200 or 300 employees, it's a more than likely chance that, like I said, something crazy like that can happen. But guys, like I said, it's a bunch of mixed emotions, whether it be the technician's fault or the company fault. Guys, the point is with those scams, I mean, it starts first with the company, because I feel like with that guy, like I said, you know, I don't know him. I know a few guys that used to work at that company, but as far as with him, I feel like most likely he was probably doing what he was told to do. And I'm curious to see what that company is going to respond with. But like I said, guys, I don't get too far into politics with other companies. But like I said, guys, in my standpoint, guys, I really wish that something like that happens in Pennsylvania, which I highly doubt. Like I said, you know, because I was telling you guys before, most of this shit is entertainment with me. Like I said, guys, we doing a bunch of second opinions with other contractors and other companies. And like I said, guys, the shit that I hear, I don't really take too serious. I think most of this shit is like entertainment. I'm saying like, guys, look, I had a call. This had to have been like last week, man. This customer said that I guess another contract, another company came out, and basically the guy diagnosed the AC, and he said that he needed a deposit before he even recommended what the problem was. And like, I'm like, the customer is telling me that, and I'm like, wait, so you called them to come out to diagnose the AC system, and he told you that you needed to pay before he tell you what was going on, and the customer was like, yeah, and I'm like, wait a minute. Was the technician referring to like a diagnosis fee? And the customer was like, no, he demanded I pay like $300 and he tell me what the problem was. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, that's not right. I mean, and if anything, I feel like you should tell the customer what the problem is. And if the customer goes with your company as far as what your recommendations are, then, you know, you can tell the customer, you know, the price or how you guys want to do with the diagnosis fee. But guys, I hear a bunch of crazy shit. Like I said, guys, it is what it is, guys. But like I said, I feel like if they do something like that in Philadelphia, I feel like that shit is going to be hilarious, because based on what I see, man, I see a bunch of crazy shit, and like, it's wild, man. But like I said, guys, I welcome, like I said, things like that, because look, guys, I can tell you like this, man, like in that scenario, if I go to a service call, either me or my guys, if we go to a service call and like I said, if we find something that's easily fixable, like something that doesn't require tools, that's an easy service call, guys. Like I said, the less I have to do, I don't really care much about, like I said, you know, making $1,000 on every call. If I don't have to be there for like that long, and like I said, guys, if I go there and something disconnected, I mean, that's an in and out service call. But like, it's just, as far as like I said, with other companies, I can't tell you how other companies, procedures are, you know. And like I said, guys, that's a big company, so you got to understand, you know, their cost of doing business might be higher than what another smaller company cost of business, you know, might be. So like, it's a lot of factors that goes into how much a company needs to make on each and every call. But like I said, guys, you know, like I said, I know the technician was the guy that came out there. He was getting like a lot of slack, but like I said, guys, I'm just curious to see what that company is going to come out and say. But I got a feeling that he was just following what he was told to do. But yeah, guys, you know, I actually want to see if they're going to continue to do that in PA, because like I said, guys, it's pretty crazy out here. You know, from what I've seen, like I said, I don't think, like I said, cameras are going to change anything. Like a lot of customers get taken advantage of like almost every day, and it's just, in PA there isn't like a HVAC license, so it's not really much that the township can enforce. But like I said, guys, yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see what you guys think about this here. Who's this? Like in style, what's going on? I'm waiting for a couple more people to show up, and for you guys that just got in here, I'm gonna go over in a minute what was going on with this carrier communicating thermostat, and also I'm gonna get into circuit boards. And guys, I got a bunch of shit in storage. I actually got cleaning some of that stuff out. This was a warranty circuit board, guys. I actually don't remember how we got this particular circuit board. I think this circuit board is still new. That's why we kept it. But I think they might have sent us this circuit board and the issue was like something else. But regardless, like I said, this is still a brand new Duquesne circuit board. Now, I believe this came from an 80% furnace, but I could be wrong. But guys, what I'm going to get into the carrier situation first before I get into this circuit board, because I'm going to spend a lot more time breaking down the circuit board than I will on the service call. But yeah, guys, if you guys are just coming in, I had a service call. This had to have been, I want to say, Monday or Tuesday. And guys, this is an in and out service call. I actually had to order this particular thermostat. And for you guys that see my last live video, remember with these carrier thermostats, this isn't a YGCW type of setup. Remember, guys, with this communicating setup, it's ABCD. So what that means, guys, if you do have a bad carrier infinity thermostat, you can't put a regular conventional thermostat on. You have to put something equivalent, or if not the same kind of thermostat in its place. So with this customer, guys, this was a new customer that we went to. And with this customer, guys, I believe this is a first-time customer. And she said that her thermostat was blank. And guys, I got there, and like once again, guys, this didn't really require too much of diagnosing, but I got there, and based on what you guys are seeing now, that's exactly what I seen when I got there. I got here, and the thermostat was blank. Now, guys, diagnosing communicating systems, it was a bunch of things that I learned like back in the day. We still see our fair share of communicating thermostats, but remember, like I said, guys, this is based on the current setup. You're either going to have a communicating setup or you're going to have a conventional setup. Now, a communicating setup, think about it like this. This is the thermostat, meaning this is the thing that's on the wall. This is the furnace, the thing that's inside in the basement or the attic. And this is outside. This is on the condenser. So you're going to have three different ABCD connections. You're going to have one on the wall, one downstairs at the indoor unit, and you're going to have one outside. Now, guys, remember when I got there, this thermostat, and once again, guys, this is a no AC service call. When I got there, this thermostat was blank. And I tried to get history as far as what was going on. And the customer said that, like I said, the AC was working fine up until, I guess over the weekend, the AC stopped working. And what the customer did was she checked all the breakers. She checked the on and off switch at the furnace. And this customer had a 90% gas furnace and a straight AC condenser. So what I did, what I asked her, she basically went through everything. She said that, yeah, I checked my breakers. I checked the on and off switch. Everything was on, but my thermostat was still blank and the house is hot. So what she said was she actually tried turning the switch off and on and still nothing. So she called me. I think she might have left a voicemail Sunday night, and I called her back Monday, and I got out here, guys. And based on what she said she tried, the only thing I did was I looked at the thermostat. I seen it was blank, and the only thing I needed was my meter. All I did, guys, with these ABCD connections, the C and D terminals are your 24-volt connections here. So what that means, guys, and I don't have my meter, but I can. Since I have the sub base here, I can pretty much show you guys. The A and B on these communicating thermostats are for communicating, but the C and D is for the 24 volts. So if you hook your meter up to C and D, between C and D, and you don't have 24 volts, then that means you got to go back to the furnace and you got to make sure you have power. You got to go through your whole shebang, make sure your transformer is working. Make sure that you have 24 volts at the furnace first, because if you don't have 24 here, that do not mean that the thermostat is bad. That means simply that you lost power somewhere at the furnace, and you have to diagnose that issue. And then once you correct that issue and you do have 24 volts leaving the transformer, that's when you can proceed and figure out your way back to this thermostat here. But guys, when I went downstairs to the furnace, I did have 24 volts, right? I had 24 volts from C to D, and the customer had the switch off, so I turned the switch back on. And guys, in my scenario, I actually did have 24 volts between C and D. And for you guys that's just coming in here, once again, this is just a no AC call on the carrier communicating setup. And once again, guys, this customer had a 90% furnace inside, and she had a straight AC unit outside. But guys, this was a simple diagnosis. I got there, and basically to resume what I was just saying, the thermostat was blank. All I did was I checked for 24 volts between C and D, and I had 24 volts. And instantly, guys, me knowing that I had power from C to D, and also I checked my wires to make sure that my green wire, basically, guys, with this, you want to make sure whatever wire you have connected to terminal A on the thermostat, you need to make sure it's connected to the same color wire that's going to A on the furnace. And that's very, very important. And that, you guys heard me say this before, as far as with circuit board wires, for instance, the RWCG terminal, whatever color wire you use, the terminals really don't matter. It's the color of the wire that really matters. You want to make sure that whatever color wire you have hooked up on one end is going to the same on the other end. But basically, guys, I first started with checking for power, and I actually did have power between C and D. And next, I looked at the wires. I made sure that my wire configuration was the same on one end to the other. Next, guys, after I did that, I pretty much knew that based on me having power and based on the wiring configuration being correct between my thermostat and my furnace, I knew that this thermostat was shot. So what I ended up doing was, then guys, this is an older style Infinity setup. I ended up putting in the newer Carrier Infinity thermostat, and I had to get that from Carrier. But yeah, guys, as far as this setup, I'll tell you like this: if this thing works, it works. But like I said, once this thermostat craps out, you can possibly get a new one. But like I said, guys, I know that for sure at that time, Carrier didn't have these in stock. They had a different style. But that other thermostat still had the ABCD setup. And I ended up just ripping this out and going with a new thermostat. But guys, another thing that we usually get as far as these communicating thermostats is we get a lot of communicating errors, guys. And you'll notice once you go on the no AC call or no heat call, as soon as you look at the thermostat, it's going to read communicating error. Now, guys, with communicating errors, I can tell you like this. With communicating errors, that pretty much means that either something's going on either with the communication from the thermostat to the indoor unit or from the indoor unit to the outside unit. And I'm not going to touch on that too much because I got to get going here. But with this particular thermostat, guys, if I, for instance, right, this is the older thermostat that I replaced. But if I do see a communicating error with this Infinity thermostat, and this is what an old timer once told me, what I can do to eliminate the inside wire, what I can do is, let me show you here. I can pretty much take this thermostat off the wall, and I can take this thermostat downstairs to the circuit board, and I can pretty much get a small piece of thermostat wire, and basically I'm taking this thermostat off the wall, sub base and everything, and I'm connecting this straight to my circuit board at my furnace. And guys, what I'm basically doing is I'm eliminating my indoor thermostat wires by doing that. If I do get the same thing, like the same communicating error by me basically bypassing my indoor thermostat wires, then I will start first with replacing this thermostat. But if this thing does work by you basically unhooking this thermostat off the wall and going downstairs, then at that point, guys, you'll have to run new thermostat wires. Maybe one or two of your communicating wires are stripped or damaged in the wall. So with that scenario, guys, you would definitely want to make sure that, like I said, I mean, you can probably call tech support on this, like I said, until you guys get more experience, if you guys don't really deal with communicating setups. But guys, I've seen a bunch of these that had no issues. So I had the good experience of seeing, like I said, a bunch of these units in action, working well. And like I said, it only took a while for me to do a handful of maintenances for me to understand what setup goes where. And like I said, guys, on the last live video that I made, I had a bunch of flashcards, and like I said, I had a bunch of questions written down, and I pretty much knew scenario-wise, well, if this thermostat was bad, what would happen? If the indoor wires were bad, what would happen? And like I said, guys, that was one of the few, like I said, flashcards that I made a bunch of flashcards on these communicating systems. But once you get the gist of it, guys, like I said, they're not really too difficult to diagnose. Like I said, with this one, it was just blank. I just had to check for power. And like I said, guys, I knew what was going on here. But guys, I want to get going here to the next topic here, guys. Let's talk about circuit boards here, shall we? And guys, this came from a Duquesne 80% unit. And guys, with these circuit boards, they don't really have fault codes for AC. And I'm talking strictly for Duquesne, guys. And this could be for Linux as well, because Linux is technically tied with Duquesne. I think Duquesne is actually under Linux. But as far as the fault codes here, I'm not going to get too much into heat things here. I'm trying to keep this like AC related. But like I said, guys, you can always resort to your fault codes in the wintertime on no heat situations, especially with newer furnaces. Most of these newer furnaces are going to have an LED code. And guys, remember, I was telling you a while ago, one thing I like about these Duquesne units, and I'm talking to Duquesne furnaces, by the way, if a customer had an intermittent issue, intermittent meaning if the customer stated that the heat wasn't working last night, and then you get there and it works, all you have to do is, of course, look at the LED light to make sure that your LED light is blinking, like I said, a normal operation. So it says here, continue rapid flash. That means call for heat, burner operation. And 1 heartbeat means normal operation. Now, here's the thing, guys. Based on what the customer told you, if the customer told you that the heat wasn't working last night, and then you get there, and then, like I said, the heat is working fine, what you can do, and it tells you right here, the last 10 error codes are stored in memory. To recall, press and release. The most recent displays will be displayed first. And then next error code is displayed. To clear fault codes, depress and hold button longer than 5 seconds. So here's the thing, guys. Basically, once again, on the intermittent issue, if you have that scenario and the customer said, like I said, the heat wasn't working, and you get there and it's working, you press this, and automatically this circuit board is going to store up to the last 10 fault codes. It's going to store that in memory. So you push it once, and it's going to give you the last 10 fault codes. And to erase them, you got to push this button down for more than 5 seconds. Now, like I said, guys, Duquesne is the only circuit board I know that has this recall button, and that's what I like about these, like I said, these furnaces, is that it pretty much helps you out with those intermittent issues. Otherwise, you got to rely on something, you got to rely on it breaking down before you can diagnose the system again. So that's what I like about these particular, like I said, Duquesne circuit boards and Linux as well. You have the option of storing, like I said, memory, and it's available to you whenever you need it. Now, guys, as far as with the AC season, we only have like about a month left in the AC season, but with these circuit boards, guys, I mean, once again, guys, this is universal. This circuit board isn't too different than any other circuit board out there. What you have here is you have your thermostat connections here. You have your Molex plug here, probably for your heat operations, like the inducer, the heat setup. You got your pressure switches, the whole 9 yards. Here, you got your 120 line volt side. This is the 120 that comes from the door switch. You got the transformer, and then you have your circulator, which is, I believe this is, let me see here. And this is without looking at the schematic here. I believe this is the 20. Yeah, this is our 120 hot side here. Here is our 120 volt neutral. So guys, this is where the neutral from your inducer motor, the neutral. When I say neutral, technically neutral is like a common, but it's 115. The neutral, meaning your L2 sides, are going to go back here, meaning your L2 from the breaker, your L2 basically from your inducer motor, your L2 from the blower motor. This is your neutral slot, and it gives you the option of having a 115 volt line go to a humidifier. And of course, this is your EAC, electronic air cleaner. And here is your blower motor taps here, guys. This is from your, once again, guys, when I say blower motor, this is the fan that blows the air to the house. This is where the wires hook up from the motor to the board. So with this one, your typically your low speed with your heat terminal here, which is what I'm touching. You have your cool terminal, and then you have your fan terminal here. Guys, what this means here with the fan terminal, if you turn your thermostat from auto to fan, and if you have a Duquesne furnace, whatever speed is hooked up to this fan terminal, that is the speed that the motor is going to go at whenever the thermostat gets turned from auto to fan on. And then lastly, what we have here is you have our park terminals. Park pretty much means, guys, that the motor, whatever's hooked up here is not going to be in use. So, guys, most blower motors, even though you only really need 2 speeds, you need cool and heat. In this case, you have 3. You have your continuous fan terminal, you have your heat terminal, you have your cool terminal. But, guys, it's not uncommon for most blower motors to have like at least 5 or 6 different speeds. But for those asset speeds that you probably don't need, they give you, instead of cutting it and wire nut it or zip tying it, you can actually hook those terminals up. And these are unused taps here. So remember, guys, park means it's not in use. And here you have your flame sensor set up here. And guys, remember, similar to the 120 volt humidifier, you actually have a 24 volt tap here for your humidifier. So what this means, guys, is real simple. This circuit board has the ability to only send 24 or only send 115 to these terminals on the call for heat. So, guys, I like using isolated setups for humidifiers, and you guys didn't get a chance to see that yet. But, guys, what I was referring to with isolated setups, means I like having my humidifiers on a separate transformer, and I wired it in series. And I can pretty much draw a small diagram of that here. Let me see here. So you got your humidifier, and then you have your humidistat, and then you have basically 115, and then you have 24 volts. So yeah, guys, this is the more common here. All right, so here's the more common setup here. I can put it right here. So this is my humidistat. This is how I turn on my humidifier. This is my humidifier, and this is my transformer. Remember, guys, this transformer is not the same transformer that goes inside the furnace. I basically like wiring my humidifiers in series, but it's on a separate circuit. Back to what I was saying with this is that you have the ability to, instead of using a separate transformer, you can have the power from that humidifier come from the board. I really don't like doing that, guys, because like with this, I feel like this is going to put too much strain on your circuit board. And like I said, I don't want to have any premature failures with the circuit board. But guys, with this setup, this is a separate transformer. So like I said, guys, you got this humidifier on a totally separate circuit. But based on you turning the humidistat up, this humidifier is still going to turn on when you need it to. And remember, guys, technically this humidifier is going to turn on in the fall whenever the humidity drops below a certain point. Because remember, guys, let's say if you turn this humidifier or the humidistat up to like 45%, there's like a dial. It goes from like 0 to like 70 or something like that. And 45 is in the middle. So like, let's say this is the dial. You crank it up to 45. Usually 45 to 55 is nominal. But like I say, guys, remember, and I tell customers like this too, you can turn this humidifier off, right? But remember, in the summertime, the humidity in the house is going to already be real high. So I doubt this humidifier is going to run whenever you turn it to AC. But like I said, guys, I tell customers like this, you can always just turn it off, meaning go to the humidistat and turn it off in the summer or in the spring. I want to say like maybe like around March or April, once the weather breaks. And like I said, guys, and I always tell the customers, once you turn it off, assuming that we come out in the fall, we can turn it on. But like I said, guys, we already come out twice a year, so we technically can do this for the customer. But for the customers that like to be involved, especially if they don't want the humidifier running at all, maybe in the winter, I like making sure they know how to turn the humidistat and turn the humidifier off and on. So, but like I said, guys, it's more than one way to do this. I know some guys to hook this humidifier up straight to the circuit board. You do have that option, but remember, and like I said, you have more than one way to do this. You have the 24 volt HUM tap, which is a humidifier, and you have a 115 or 120 volt tap for the humidifier. Me personally, like I said, I feel like you get more longevity, like I said, out of this humidifier just by having it separate. Because like I said, guys, remember, if this circuit board goes, that humidifier doesn't work. So, like I said, there's different strokes for different folks. But like I said, guys, that's just our procedures. We just like using a separate transformer. And yeah, guys, as far as with this setup, that's all it is. And once again, this is a Duquesne circuit board, but that's all there is. You just have your low voltage connection from your thermostat. You got your MOLES plug for your heat. You got your flame sensor terminal here. And once again, you got your optional humidifier taps. You got your blower motor wires. You got your 115 volt hot wires, and you got your L2s. That's pretty much all there is to it. Now, guys, one thing I don't have is I don't have a schematic. I think the schematic is more important than what I'm showing you guys right here. This was just something, like I said, that I had laying around that I wanted to talk to you guys about. But having a schematic is going to definitely be something that's going to be beneficial for you guys to learn, because I can tell you like this. I know guys that, like I said, if they see this, they can hook it up. But once again, if they see something totally different, maybe instead of the thermostat wires being here, it's over here, eventually this could lead to service recalls. So like I said, guys, I always tell guys, especially guys that I'm training, it's always good to refer to the schematic and know how to read the schematic. Because if you just get used to seeing things physically without understanding why things are the way they are and what can change and how to trace it, then guys, you might get lucky once or twice, but eventually it's going to come back to screw you over. So, but like I said, guys, the only thing I'm doing now is I'm just shooting the shit with you guys, and I'm showing you, like I said, the breakdown of the circuit board. Now, remember, guys, the fault codes are only for the heat operation. For the AC operation, nothing on this fault code, nothing on this fault sheet here really coincides with AC issues. Because remember, guys, the only thing on the circuit board that's relatable to the AC is just the fan tap. So if that blower motor is running, nothing on here coincides with the AC, because remember, guys, the AC unit is outside. This is equated to the circuit board, which is inside. So I'm gonna erase this here, and I'm gonna draw you a scenario in which, and we can go through another service call that I had last week. I believe this wasn't really not much going on here, but I'm gonna draw one here so you guys can see. So you got your 24 volt wire. I'm gonna do Y and C here. Y and C. Then you have your circuit board. You got your RWCYGC. And then you have your, I'm gonna put furnace here. And then you have your T-stat, which is the same thing as the furnace, same connections, YGC. All right, so here's what we got. So this is just a conventional setup, straight AC, 80% furnace. We have our thermostat connections, RWC, YGC at the thermostat, and we have the same thing inside. And then we have the Y and C outside. Now, guys, what I'm showing you in my hand is basically what's at this furnace. Not sure if you guys can see this. This is my circuit board, and guys, pretty much your thermostat wires, that the thing that's on the wall, connects to the wires that's in the circuit board. And also, let me use a different color here. Hold on. So think about it like this. So think about it like this. Your outside unit, you got low voltage wires that goes from outside inside, and you also have wires from your thermostat, which is the thing that's on the wall, go inside. So guys, think about everything connecting inside to this circuit board. Now guys, here's the thing, right? Everything I went over is not relatable to AC. This is just, everything I went over is just what's on the circuit board itself. Most of what's on the circuit board is heat related, but the only thing that pertains to AC, as far as on the circuit board, would be your thermostat wires and your motor tap here. And guys, for you guys that missed it here, like I said, the only thing I was telling you with the motor, your high speed goes on cool and the low speed goes on heat. Everything else, like I said, it's situational. It depends on what's going on. What I just told you, you're not going to check every single terminal on this circuit board if you're on a no AC call or on a no heat call. It depends on what's happening. That will lead you to diagnose and check everything out. But getting back to what I was saying here, I had a no AC call, and guys, what was going on here? And let me try to use a different color here so you guys can see here. So basically at the thermostat, I had 0 volts. Instantly, guys, like I said, our procedures is the biggest thing is we want to make sure that our indoor fan is running. If our indoor fan, meaning our blower motor, is not running, then we start inside. But if our indoor fan is running and it's just blowing out hot air, then we start outside. But like I said, guys, it's different strokes for different folks. As long as you get to the same result, it really doesn't matter. But like I said, guys, I can only tell you, but based on what works for us. But the point is, guys, basically, I got here and the customer said that nothing was blowing out the vents at all. And I started at the thermostat and I had 0 volts, right? And let me show you something here. I had 0 volts from R to C, which is my 2 wires coming from my transformer. I'm going to get into that in a second. But from R to C, I had no volts. So I went down to the furnace and I had 0 volts as well. Now, here's the thing, guys. And I'm glad I got the circuit board so I can show you at least this part for reference. At my thermostat, R to C, 0 volts. At the circuit board, which is what I got in my hand, which is usually located in the furnace, from R to C, I had 0 volts. Now, guys, you got to understand what this means here. So basically, your R and C, basically, is the 2 wires that's coming off your transformer. So what I had to do was I had to basically step back and I had to figure out, okay, cause and effect. My effect is I don't have 24 volts from R and C. What can cause that? What can cause that is my transformer, the transformer is a part that's not on the circuit board. But guys, the purpose of the transformer, and I can write this on the board here, and I'm going to try to sum this up as simple as I can. So you got your 115 volt hot, neutral, and then you got your prime, and you got your secondary, so you got your RNC. All right. So pay attention here. So here's what we got. So basically, that's our transformer. Your transformer, you got 2 different sides. You got your primary, which is your 115 volt side, and you got your secondary, which is your 24 volt side, right? So 15 volt, which is your 24 volt side. All right, so check it out. So basically, I had 0 volts from R to C. And once again, guys, what I'm drawing was a no AC service call. I had 0 volts. Customer said nothing was blowing out the vents at all. I had 0 volts from R to C. I also had 0 volts at R to C at the furnace. So basically, my thermostat was dead, and also my furnace is dead. And terminals R and C, once again, it's the 2 wires that's coming off the secondary side of my transformer. So I put my meter leads between here and here. R and C, I had 0 volts. And guys, this is just a blown up picture of how a transformer looks. You got your 115 volt side, so power comes in, transformer steps it down from 115 to 24. Now guys, this is very similar to transformers you see on the pole, but the purpose of the transformer on the furnace is a little bit different than the purpose of the transformer on the on a light pole. The purpose of this transformer is to step power down. The purpose of the transformer on a light pole is to prevent voltage from dropping. Because guys, the longer you send a wire, eventually your voltage could drop. And that's why you need transformers. But guys, that's not the purpose of what I'm talking about here. This transformer, remember, you remember my 115 volt side on this board? This is going, voila, you see that X former? That is basically what this is. So think about it like this, guys. Your transformer and your circuit board works in tandem. So I want you to look at this like it's two different people here. This is the best way I can explain this, right? So think about it like this. Your circuit board gives power to your primary side of your transformer, right? So the transformer is saying, hey, circuit board, I need 115. Your circuit board is going to say, okay, I'm going to send 115 from my X-former side to your primary, right? So think about it like this. Power is going in from one side, and the transformer is going to say, okay, circuit board, you sent me 115 to from your transformer terminal, which is this. You sent me 115. Now, if I'm working fine, I'm going to step that 115 volt down to 24. And now, guys, as a result, remember those two R to C terminals? As a result, that transformer is now going to send 24 volts between R and C. So, all right, here we go. So that transformer is going to now send 24 volts from R to C. Now, guys, here's the thing, right? Back to what I said. Remember, I had 0 volts from R to C. So the first thing I did was, me knowing what I just told you guys, I knew that my transformer, the purpose of it was to step power down. In this scenario, I had 115 on my hot side between my 115 and ground. So I knew power was getting to this transformer. But what I did was I checked for 24 from R to C, leaving the transformer. So what I did was I checked for 24 leaving the transformer, right? And I had 24 volts. But let me see if I can prop this up here so you guys can see. Hold on. So think about it like this. I knew that was going to happen. Let me move these markers out the way. Hold on. All right, stand still. All right, so basically, guys, check it out. I can't get this damn thing to stay still. Hold on. Stay still. Here we go. So I had 0 volts from R to C. Right? I had 0 volts from R to C, but I had 24 from right here. So, and I think when I shake this board, when I shake this white board, that circuit board is going to fall off. But check this out, guys. Look, basically, I had 24 volts leave my transformer, but I had 0 volts at my circuit board. So then, think about this, guys. You got to ask yourself this. What can cause power to leave your transformer, but nothing to be at the circuit board? Let me answer this here. I got to keep this board steady so this thing don't fall. Let me see. All right. What I just asked you, I had no power from R to C on my board, but I had power leaving my transformer. What I just asked is what can cause power to be at your transformer, but nothing to be at your circuit board? And you guys, you know what the answer is? The fuse is open. Now, unfortunately, guys, with these Duquesne units, you don't have a low voltage fuse on the board. Instead, if you guys are looking at this furnace, right above where the door switch is, you have it looks almost like a fuse popper. You got a resettable fuse. So technically, well, I know with most furnaces, you have the 3 or 5 amp fuse on the board, but with Duquesne, you have the resettable fuse, which I think, once again, is cool. I don't have to replace fuses. If that fuse If the resettable fuse everywhere to open, it's just a button that's going to pop up, and to reset it, you push it in. Now here's the thing, guys. Right, as soon as I check for 24 leaving my transformer, I'm like, okay, if I got 24 volts leaving my transformer, I knew my transformer is okay, but why the hell am I not getting 24 from R to C? And as soon as I trace power back, voila, I see my fuse is open. Well, my fuse popper was up, meaning it's tripped. So I'm like, okay, what the hell? So what I did was I actually went outside. I turned the power off once again. Since I knew my transformer was okay, I turned my switch off at the furnace. And I started thinking, right? I'm like, okay, what can cause my fuse to, well technically, even though we don't have a fuse, we have a resettable fuse. But I'm like, what can cause my fuse to open up like this? And I started going through symptoms, guys, and I got to erase this real quick here. And technically, what I'm talking about is like low voltage troubleshooting, but let me show you here. So I'm trying to, I'm trying to make this kind of like blown out so you guys can see all the components, but I don't want to make this look too confusing here. Let me think about this here. All right, let's see here. Can I use this picture that I drew here? I'm going to try to use what I already got on the board here. Hold on. But I'm trying to use different colors so you guys can see what I'm talking about here. Hold on. Hold up. Let me see here. All right, so Y from here is going to go from Y here. C from here is going to go to C. R is R. And so on and so forth. And then here is here and here. All right. So here's what we got. So basically, we have our Y and C, which is going to our contactor, right? Which is outside. And guys, that contactor, once it gets power from Y to C, the button pushes in, and that is what starts your outside unit. But guys, here's the deal. When I got here, remember, nothing was going on at all. And the only thing I do know is that I don't have 24. My thermostat is dead. I have no 24 volts between Y and C. I have nothing at R and C at the furnace. My transformer is good, but my circuit board is dead. So, and I looked at my fuse popper, and my fuse is actually up, meaning it's tripped. So guys, now, by me knowing that information, I got to step back and I got to say, wait, what's causing this to happen? Is it my wires? What else in this circuit is causing that to happen? And guys, instantly what I did, right, was I did the easiest thing that any of you guys should do. I just took my wires off the circuit board, right? I took my wires off the circuit board because what I wanted to do was I wanted to eliminate my thermostat wires. And it's more than one way you can do this, but I'm only showing you kind of like the more simplified way. But as far as what I did was I had, once again, guys, look, what's in my hand now is basically what I'm pointing to at the furnace. Basically, I have my thermostat wires going in to my circuit board, and I have my 24 volt wires from my condenser going to my circuit board. So I basically took everything off and I resetted the fuse popper, turned power on, and my light stayed on. And guys, you'll know if this didn't work, that fuse would have popped right, the fuse popper would have popped right back up. But guys, that didn't happen. So at least I knew that probably something was going on. The board is okay, but at least knew that something was going on either with either my indoor thermostat wires or my outdoor thermostat wires. So now, guys, here's what I did, right? To isolate this even more, can I get this thing to fucking stay still? Here we go. What I did even more was look at this, guys. I kept my outdoor thermostat wires off, right? And I want you guys to stay with me here. I'm only doing this once again because my fuse is open inside. I took all the wires off, my light stayed on, right? And that's a good thing. That at least lets me know that the circuit board is okay. So I turned the power off again, and I basically reconnected my thermostat wires back to my indoor circuit board, right? And I turned power on, and guess what? The light stayed on. And my fan turned on, which is good. That's what you want. But here you got to understand what that means, guys. If I have only my condenser wires disconnected from the board, and I have only my indoor wires connected and it's running, that's telling me two things. That's telling me, one, that my thermostat wires inside, everything is okay with my thermostat wires. And two, that's letting me know that either something's going on with my outside unit that's opening my fuse, or something's going on with the wires. So moving along here, right? And guys, this is low voltage troubleshooting 101. Next, what I did was, right, remember, I already had all these wires hooked up, right? I had my indoor wires hooked up, right? And the unit ran, so I turned the power off, right? And look, pay attention, right? I disconnected my low volt wires outside, and I connected my low volt wires. And I did the same thing, right? And I did the same thing. I disconnected everything first, all the wires inside and out. Unit stayed on, turned it off, now I connected my indoor wires for my thermostat, right? And I kept my outdoor wires off, turned the power on, units came on, so cool. Next, what I did, this is where I'm at right now in this process, I disconnected my low volt wires from my condenser and I connected the wires inside, right? And guess what? It stayed on. And guys, if it stays on, that's a good thing. That's letting you know that whatever is not connected is probably part of the issue. I repeat, if you're isolating the wires, you got to do this one set of wires at a time, guys, because if you take more than one set of wires off, meaning if I took my indoor and my outside wires off, that's not really isolating the issue because these wires are coming from two different destinations. So, guys, remember, I took everything off initially to make sure my board was okay. Second, I just connected I only connected my inside wires first, and I kept my outside wires off, and it worked. So that pretty much told me that my inside wires are okay. Next, I disconnected my wires outside, but I connected them inside because now, guys, what I wanted to do is I wanted to isolate the wires. I wanted it like this. I wanted to isolate the wires without the wires being hooked up to my unit. And guys, I did that. And again, it stayed on. My fuse didn't pop. Now, what I did was, let me get my green marker here. I reconnected my wires, right? Remember, I have everything hooked up now, my circuit board. I reconnected my wires, and then guess what happened? The fuse popped. So, guys, instantly, I knew that something was going on outside. And like I said, guys, the only thing that was hooked up outside was my contactor. And it looks like my contactor coil was shorted out. That contactor coil had a bunch of bugs and insects on it. And all I did was, like I said, I put a new contactor coil in for testing purposes. I didn't hook the 240 side up yet or anything like that. I just hooked the coil wires up of the new contactor. I double checked all my connections inside to make sure everything is right. And as soon as I hooked the new contactor coil up, went downstairs, turned the power back on, my new contactor coil popped in, pulled in and energized, and my light stayed on. So, guys, that let me know that something was going on with my contactor coil the whole time. And guys, like I said, with this stuff, I mean, it might have sounded confusing what I just told you, but like I said, guys, so low voltage troubleshooting, this scenario I told you was only specific to what was going on. But once again, with troubleshooting low voltage circuits, you got to be able to isolate the system. What that means is I'm not troubleshooting something that's already working, and I'm not trying to attack more than one thing at once. You got to look at the system in one piece, right? Thermostat, furnace, and condenser, but you got to find a way to isolate it and break it down. That's the only way you'll be able to pinpoint exactly what was going on. There's no way I could have diagnosed that contactor until after I basically confirmed that my wires inside was okay. Because like I said, guys, we do second opinions all the time. And like I said, another company could just try replacing the contactor. And if that don't work, they might recommend replacing the system. But like I said, guys, with the diagnosing I just told you, we basically start first with our inside wires. Once we start our inside wires with everything else disconnected, that's when I know we can move on. But if the fuse would have popped just by us having our inside wires in, now, guys, I want to move to the next step. And now we got to basically try to eliminate each wire and figure out what's actually rubbing together. Maybe two of the wires in the wall or maybe rubbing together. But like I said, guys, you'll know that based on a fuse popping with only your indoor wires hooked up. Indoor meaning the wires that's coming from your thermostat. But like I said, guys, not to get too not to get too ahead of what we're talking about, but like I said, guys, now you're seeing how I only go into detail if I have to go into detail based on what's going on. If I hook only my indoor wires up and everything runs, I'm not going back and ohming out wires. There's no point in doing that because everything is running. Now, if something's opening on a specific side of the system, meaning remember I had my indoor wires, I had my indoor wires hooked up and it ran. I had my outdoor wires hooked up, but I had it disconnected from out here and it worked. If my fuse would open up with my outdoor wires hooked up inside but not outside, then that tells me that probably one or two of my wires, maybe either my wire C, are touching a piece of metal and that's chipping my fuse. But like I said, guys, remember with this low voltage troubleshooting, the more you see it, the more better you'll get at it. But you got to find a way based on what you're seeing. You got to find a way of isolating the system. And like I said, guys, that's the best way of troubleshooting low voltage shorts because like I said, my first time troubleshooting these low voltage shorts, it wasn't broken down to me like that. Like, so I spent a bunch of time replacing fuses and hoping that the fuse stayed lit. And like I said, guys, that's really the wrong way of troubleshooting it. You got to understand cause and effect. The effect is any conductor touching metal, or if you had a shorted out coil outside with your contactor, any one of those combinations will cause this fuse to open up. And guys, the purpose of this fuse is not to protect this circuit board, it's to protect the transformer. The transformer, once again, it's not on the circuit board, but remember the transformer and the circuit board works closely together because look at this, guys. Remember, the transformer gets its power. Let me get here we go, right here. The transformer gets its power. See the X-former terminal? The transformer gets its 115 from the board. And then in return, that transformer is going to step 115 down to 24, and it's going to give the circuit board back 24 volts. So these two parts are meant to work in tandem, meaning your transformer and your circuit board. You can't have one without the other. This circuit board cannot work without 24 volts that the transformer sends back. And guys, that transformer cannot work without 115 that the circuit board gives it. So remember, these two parts work in tandem. But based on, like I said, the scenario I just told you guys with the fuse being open, I knew how to isolate my wires. And it, like I said, it took some time. Depends on how big the house is. It depends on how difficult it is to get to the indoor unit. That is what varies. I know guys asked me before, like, hey, how long does it take you to troubleshoot a low voltage issue? I mean, it really depends. Like it could be 30 minutes or less, or it could be, depends on how easy it is to get up in the crawl space in the attic or whatever the case is. It can really vary, but it doesn't take long for me to figure out what side of the system to start troubleshooting first because I know what my terminals mean and I know how to isolate the system. Once again, to sum this up, you never start attacking everything at once. You got to be able to cut the system down. And like I said, that's going to help you guys troubleshoot. And that's going to help you, like I said, that's going to help you figure out what's going on. But yeah, guys, like I said, as soon as I put that new contactor in, everything fired up. And like I said, guys, that was an easy service call. But guys, I got to get up out of here. That was a regular AC call. But guys, I got to get up out of here. I just had to drop some stuff off. And I got to go back home, do some paperwork. But guys, definitely, like I said, replay this video whenever you guys are going on any low voltage troubleshooting. Like I said, in the future, replay this video. And like I said, you guys will know how to isolate the system. And like I said, I mean, I really don't think it's a difference between you guys seeing this in person and seeing what I drew on the board. Like I said, if you know your thermostat connections, the biggest thing you need to know how to do is you need to know when and where to disconnect your wires and what disconnecting those wires mean. I'm not taking wires off for no reason. I'm only taking wires off to isolate the system so I can troubleshoot one side of the system at a time. So like I said, guys, and I mean, I'm not, it took me at least a handful of low voltage troubleshooting to figure this out, guys. Even though I knew wires and I knew how to where everything hooked up at, guys, it still took me a while because, like I said, sometimes you could have like a system with maybe 5 sets of thermostat wire. It's not going to be as black and white sometimes like training would be. But like I said, guys, if you can try your best to just eliminate what doesn't matter, then like I said, guys, that's going to help you out a lot with troubleshooting low voltage problems in general. I want to say shorts, but like anything with thermostat wires are considered low voltage, you know. Not all of them are going to result in shorts, but like I said, most of them do. But like I said, guys, you know, try not to get overwhelmed with diagnosing. Just try your best to keep everything as simple as you can. And like I said, guys, that's how you're gonna get to the next level here. But all right, guys, I got to get up out of here. I had some downtime. Anytime I had some downtime, guys, I just start drawing shit on the board. And like I said, you guys will be able to take a look at it. But I'm going to pack up. I'm going to get out of here. Peace out. I'll see you guys on the next one.